And firstly, thank you very much for allowing me to share a bit of your time this morning. And I know I've got the last session, but you're all thinking, oh, lunch and a break. So I will try and be as succinct as I can. Not my biggest skill, I'm not going to lie. But it's great to come and talk to some community groups today. I'm supported here by Catherine from West Mercia Women's Aid, because the project I'm going to talk to you about is a joint project where Women's Aid are also supporting us. Okay, so what I'm talking to you about today is Safer Streets 5. Now, I'm hoping people are aware of the Safer Streets initiative. There's been 5 variations of that, so it's been around for a number of years. It's a government initiative about making streets safer for women and girls. Now, what I would say about that is, obviously, if we make streets safer for women and girls, it makes it safer for everybody. So, over the years, this support has been focused on women and girls, but a lot of it was about practical things like CCTV, road light, street lighting, and all those sort of things. But particularly in West Mercia and the West Midlands, over the past Safer Streets 3, 4 and 5 are very much focused on the preventative aspect about education and how we can change some of the cultures within our communities. So, as part of the Safer Streets 5 project, there's 2 aspects to the project. We're doing some work in schools to create peer ambassadors for young people to sort of prevent unwanted behaviour, addressing things like gender, issues around unhealthy relationships. But the second part of the project, which obviously is more relevant to you as a group, is creating community ambassadors. Okay, so as I said, it's a home office initiative. And again, the focus is women and girls, but what I wanted to be clear is actually we recognise violence when we're talking about sexual violence, which obviously is our area, and obviously domestic abuse. We know that it happens to all genders, and we're not saying that it doesn't, but we know statistically it's higher with women and girls, so that's where the focus comes. However, in the training that we deliver, we recognise the need to recognise all genders and the impact of violence across the community. As it says on the slide, it's a collaboration with ourselves, West Mercia Rape and Sexual Abuse Support Centre, Axis, which I don't know if people know about Axis. Axis is the sort of equivalent in Shropshire and Telford, and then West Mercia Women's Aid and Shropshire Domestic Abuse. Again, we're all working on this together, but from a West Mercia point of view, it will be we're sort of focusing on Hereford and Worcestershire, whereas Axis with yourselves, and Axis are working with Shropshire Domestic Abuse Service to provide the support over there. Okay, so in terms of the age, I apologise, there's quite a bit on that slide, which I'll just talk through to you. So the aim of the project is to develop a community approach to reduce violence and look at it focused within communities. So in previous Safer Streets projects, we've worked with children and young people around this approach, teachers, nighttime economy, so bars, clubs and restaurants, about how we can be active bystanders and prevent unwanted behaviour. One of the bits that we felt was missing was like the community piece and how, you know, in our communities generally, what sort of behaviours that are going on and how we can sort of prevent that. Again, it's also important about raising the VOG agenda, so the violence against women and girls, and challenge perspectives. So one of the important part is, okay, what do we mean by sexual violence? What do we mean by domestic abuse? So we've got a shared understanding, because if we need that to be able to make change. And again, what we hope is that we can create bystanders, active bystanders, to actually be able to feel comfortable to sort of address some of those behaviours. Now, when I say that, that doesn't mean, you know, capes, you know, and superhero outfits. We're not suggesting that at all. What we're trying to do with this is give people different options, because it's okay not to get directly involved because you might not feel able to, but I think sometimes as a society, and I'm talking very generally here, is that we may see something going on and think, oh, I'm not getting involved in that, or somebody else will deal with it. So what we're trying to do with this training is to provide options for people and know that there's other things you can do. Now, the thing might be is that checking out with that person afterwards is actually doing something. not laughing along with a sexist joke. You know, there's lots of things that you can do, but I think sometimes we're a bit limited in what we think is like, well, I'm not getting involved. But the important thing is that it's got to be safe for us and for people involved. You know, you'll hear me, if you come to the training, which I'm hoping to encourage you to do, is we will talk about safe and effective a lot, because again, it's not about putting anyone else at risk. And this has been particularly interesting with children and young people, and I used this example yesterday. Well, miss, you said if I saw something on the playground I didn't like, I needed to do something about it. So I hit them. That's not what we're talking about. You know, what we're talking about is actually go and get some help. Say, no, that's not all right. There is other options, and it's about being safe for all. Okay. And again, recognising situations and behaviour that may be abusive and reinforce in society the norms around domestic and sexual violence. Again, what's also really important within this, as I said, our obviously specialism is around sexual violence, whereas women's aid is domestic abuse. And what's happened in previous Safer Streets, there's been a focus on sexual violence. With this project, we're looking at violence as a whole, so it is really important for you to think about that when I come to hopefully a little bit of an activity that you'll support me with. Okay, so how does this relate to you? So what we've been asked to do is look at creating community ambassadors. And the way that we're hoping to do this is to offer training to use community groups or members of your community group to sort of help you increase your knowledge of violence against women and girls, look at how we can reduce incidents, and again, when we say that, is thinking about societal attitudes and approaches, you know, the myths and stereotypes that can be around, and to provide you with a framework and some strategies about how you could be an active bystander and feel that you're comfortable to step in. Now, what's also really important to say is I appreciate that this is a difficult area for people, notably why there is always two of us when we deliver these trainings, because it is also really important that we know that this can impact. So again, while we're here today, as just us going through it, is if you need any support afterwards or want to talk to us, we will remain around for you. Oh, the timers, they're random, aren't they? Sometimes the timer just starts all of a sudden. Okay, so I just wanted to highlight that, and that's also really important when you're talking within communities about the safety and also knowing where to get support. Now, it may be you think, well, I don't feel comfortable to do this, but I know where I can signpost people. You know, that is actually doing something, and I think that's really important as well. So to sort of just give you a very brief introduction, because I'm not giving you too much, because again, I want you to come along to the training hopefully, is, you know, we believe that we're all in a key position to actually sort of address some of these behaviours and challenge it, but challenge it safely. And again, what we do, this is just to give you a bit of an insight. So firstly, we've got to notice that there's a problem in the first place. So recognising that some behaviour isn't okay, seeing it as a problem and recognising that we need to find some motivation and take a bit of responsibility to act. Because if we want, I noticed it was talking about some of the survey you did before about how residents feel, and I think safety is a huge part of that, and actually to be able to walk down the street and not be, you know, leered at or whatever in terms of this. So, and again, what we hope is that if we support you to have a shared understanding of this process, we can then give you some skills and strategies to think about how you could possibly intervene. As I said, talking about this today is that we're not going to cover any personal experiences, but we also recognise that this is really important because we never know what impacts on us, and we know that it may impact people within the room. That's also really important when delivering the training and how we respond to people who are survivors of sexual violence or domestic abuse as well. So that's a very brief scenario and summary of what we're hoping to achieve. What it will look like is we've got 12 sessions across the whole of West Mercia, so Hereford, Worcester, Shropshire and Telford. And hopefully some of those sessions will be online and some face-to-face, so we want to do a mixture. And again, what that will do is that will give the people who are being trained a foundation and understanding of this approach, but also resources and tools to hopefully share that with others as well. One of the really important bits for us is, as I talked about, we've worked with lots of other groups around this, but we want to make sure that it is community focused. So us talking about something happening in a bar isn't perhaps as relevant to your groups, but actually you might be able to think about sort of situations. It might be an appropriate comment or something that's relevant to the community. The training that we do, there's some theory based to it, I'm afraid, but there's also quite a lot of activity, case discussions, and we want to make sure that we make this training worthwhile and relevant to you. So I was hoping, if it's all right for a few minutes on your tables, I see, Christine, there's already sort of post-it notes, isn't there? So I was just wondering if people could look at those 2 questions for me and think if there's anything particularly you think it would be worth for us to consider within this training. So, for example, any examples of the sort of inappropriate behaviour that you may see within the work that you do, or that you've heard about within your communities. And then also what you think it might be quite useful for us to consider working with community groups to make sure we get this messaging right. The other thing for me as well is any practical ideas, like what time of day it would be good to do these sessions, all those sort of practicalities, who we should advertise it to, all those sort of things would also be really helpful. So it's about 10 minutes, so okay. We've got a support slide at the end. I appreciate this is a really difficult subject, so be aware, and we always put this up, so if anyone wants to take a photo of it, or we'll leave it up for a few minutes. We appreciate this is a difficult subject area, but it's also really important to, and to look at how we manage these situations in the community. So again, as I said, I really appreciate your time. I'm going to whip round and collect your information. Catherine and I will be around for a little while, so if anyone wants to talk to us or have been impacted, please do come and see us. And I'm guessing that's maybe lunchtime, isn't it? So.